I recently met up with a client here in Bali, Indonesia. We were talking about different citizenship by investment, citizenship by descent, and other ways to get a second citizenship, a second passport, maybe a third, fourth citizenship. But what if you don't want to go through the official routes of citizenship by investment, or the country that you want to get citizenship from does not offer any path? Maybe the only path they have is you need to spend 5, 7, 10 years in the country. I'm gonna tell you the secret way that a lot of people have gotten citizenship all over the world, depending on your net worth and depending how much effort you're willing to put into the country. And you can get one of these citizenships in a couple of weeks, in a couple of months, in some cases. It's by creating a company, bringing value, hiring people in that specific country. Now, you can't do this everywhere in the world. Obviously, if you go to Germany, or if you go to Switzerland, or if you go to Japan, they're probably not open to you just starting a business, hiring a couple people, and then getting citizenship after a couple months. It's not going to happen. But if we look at other countries, for example, in Latin America, the Dominican Republic, although it's not that great of a passport, other countries in South America, for example, like Peru, Argentina, other countries in Central America and the Caribbean, if you're willing to start a business in that country. And it has to be a substantial business. It can't just be an online marketing firm. You hire 1 or 2 assistants, you make $100K a year. No, it has to be something substantial where you bring millions of dollars to the country, potentially hundreds of millions of dollars. In the case of Peter Thiel, he was granted New Zealand citizenship after a couple of weeks because he's a billionaire, because he's famous around the world, because New Zealand loves him. He contributed to the New Zealand economy, and then he was granted that citizenship. You can do that at a smaller scale. You don't have to be a billionaire. You can just be a multimillionaire, invest a couple $100,000, an actual investment. You're not donating this to the country. You're opening an office. You're hiring 5 to 10 people. And a lot of countries around the world, although you might think, this guy's just bullshitting, there's no way I can do this. You only have to do the official route. You have to learn the language. Listen. Billionaires and 100 millionaires play by different rules. And if you don't want to play by those rules, then stop watching this video. Just Google best countries I can do it officially and do that. If you want to play by the rules of these billionaires, look at the country that you want to get citizenship in. It can't be one of the top passports in the world. We're not talking about the top 10 passports. We're talking about smaller economies, smaller countries. Latin America, as I mentioned, Eastern Europe, especially non-EU, Eastern Europe, Serbia, Montenegro, Albania. These countries are open to investment, especially if your citizenship is better in their eyes than their citizenship. If you come to Montenegro or to Argentina with a Spanish passport, German passport, American passport, they will look at you very favorably, versus if you come with a Nigerian passport or with an Indian passport. Things will be a lot harder, and probably you won't be granted citizenship if you come from one of these countries because they see you as a threat and as a security risk. Unfortunately, it all depends on where you were born around the world. Can't change that. If you have one of these passports, like a UK passport, you can go to Latin America, you can hire people, you can start a business in a sector that needs foreign investment, that needs millions of dollars injected from other countries, hire people, improve the lives of local workers. You could start a construction company. You could start even a local marketing company, a real estate agency in a country that needs real estate offices, specifically, for example, in Africa. Although African passports are not the best. They are some of the worst in the world. They are some of the least liked by most immigration officials around the world. You can still get one of these citizenships, like a Kenya, like a Botswana. It doesn't have to be Seychelles or Mauritius. You can get one of these passports that grant you access to over 50 countries around the world. You just have that as a plan B. Africa is growing over the next couple of decades, and you will have a good return on your investment as long as you properly plan out what you're doing. I have friends that have started diamond businesses in Africa. The moral aspect of that kind of business, up for debate, but you can start a diamond business, hire hundreds of people in Africa for very cheap, and then contribute to the economy and be granted citizenship through that. Even in countries where you might not want that passport to travel around the world, it's a good plan B. It's a good hedge for the future. Other places that I have to mention would include, for example, Mexico. If you invest into Mexico, if you buy property, if you start some sort of company, if you hire local people, specifically indigenous people, you can go to Peninsula Yucatan, you can go to the state of Yucatan, hire local Mayan people, start a large business, inject some capital into it, get permanent residency, and then request citizenship based on the value that you provided to the country, and you can be granted citizenship that way. We don't always have to spend the 5, 10 years that you have to spend in order to get that citizenship. Now, here in Asia, a little bit trickier. No matter how much you inject into the economy, no matter how much you invest in Indonesia, in Thailand, in Cambodia, although Cambodia does have citizenship by investment, you're most likely not going to be granted that citizenship, specifically in the best places like South Korea, like Japan. You're probably not going to be granted that citizenship no matter what you invest in the country, unless you're some celebrity and you start a giant business and you're also famous, then you might be granted that. Better look at Latin America, Eastern Europe. In the case of Serbia, Steven Seagal started a dojo, hired a lot of instructors, very famous person, invested more than $1 million into the Serbian economy, was granted Serbian citizenship, and the government was very happy to grant that citizenship. Those are the strategies that nobody talks about. Nobody tells you about it because you actually have to choose by yourself the country. You have to put in the effort of starting the business, of hiring local people, of probably translating everything. If you're going to Serbia and you're investing in Serbia, starting a company in Serbia, you have to translate everything to Serbian, although local people speak English, but most of the documents are going to be in Serbian. So you have to put in that extra work, but you can get a citizenship that literally nobody else has. That nobody's going to look at your passport and think, oh, you bought this. Oh, this little St. Kitts passport, we know all about your program. No, you have an Argentinian passport, Mexican passport, any passport from Eastern Europe, and you're not going to be looked at in the way that other people that go through citizenship by investment are looked at. Now, adding to all of this particular strategy of hiring people, you can also hire a local manager, one specific person that hires everybody else. So you're essentially hiring a COO or an HR person that then hires everybody else and takes care of all the documents, all the translations and everything. You could also make a significant one-time contribution for building something that will help the local population. That could be building a school, building a hospital, anything that has huge value to the local people, to the government as well, because the government can look amazing saying that they opened a new hospital, and it doesn't have to be a private hospital, it can be a public hospital. You invest a couple $1 million into that country to build a hospital, build that school, build anything, and you can be granted that citizenship. That has happened even in the UAE. The famous people, they start a school, they start a giant business, and they contribute to the economy, and then they get granted citizenship, and everybody says, oh, they probably bribed themselves to get that citizenship. No, they were very strategic about it. They didn't just pay some random person. They said, what is the best way that I can bring value? What is the best way that I can create a formal proposal for expedited citizenship based on my track record, based on my CV, and based on what I'm doing for that country? As I was editing this video, I've realized that some of you might think that I'm completely BSing you, that there are no provisions for citizenship by exception in the countries that I'm mentioning. So in my private community, Wealthy Expat, you can join it for free. We've put together a list, thanks to one of the members, on all the laws that grant you citizenship by exception or by investment or by contribution, how you want to call it, in many countries around the world. For example, the US is not included, the UK is not included, but the ones that are included, for example, Mexico. Person has been resident in Mexico for 2 years, and that requirement can be waived if the person has been beneficial to the country, meaning they've invested in the fields of culture, sports, or business. And there are such provisions in the law in many countries around the world. Other interesting ones include Peru. The criteria is person has rendered distinguished services to Peru, meaning building a hospital, building a school, some distinguished investment or action towards the development of Peru. And other Tier A passport countries like Slovakia does have a provision, a person who is someone of special benefit to Slovakia in the area of economics, science, technology, culture, sport, or a person's acquisition of Slovakian citizenship is beneficial to the country and to the government. Usually this requires a 10 million 20 million euro investment, but it is possible, and they're all in the link below so you can check all the laws, all the provision, and all the countries that offer this. The reality is that countries in the European Union, the US, UK, Canada, they want to kill citizenship by investment programs. They want to restrict citizenship by investment programs as much as possible. So this will be the way of the future. You choose your own citizenship in countries that are not the top 10, but that are in the middle, that give you access to quite a lot of countries, that have good relationships with different countries around the world. You choose it, you invest into it, you build it your own way, and then you ask for citizenship of that country. And if you want to see the European, the EU plan to kill second citizenship, specifically citizenship by investment, check out this video right here on what Europe wants to do to those passports. St. Kitts passports, they want to control you. They want to make sure that you don't have any options left. Make sure you check it out right now.